Talent Talk Tuesdays is all about harnessing your God-given talents to live with greater clarity, purpose, and joy. You are wonderfully made, my friends. May all we do be for God's glory. Welcome to Talent Talk Tuesdays. I'm Lisa Mladinich, your host, and today we're continuing with some freedom stories. This episode is called Strategic Thinker because it's about a client I'll call Jessica, a marketing director for a Catholic ministry. And remember that these are real case histories, but they're shared with written permission from my clients, and I've changed names to protect privacy, things like that. But before I tell you about Jessica specifically, I'd like to introduce an important concept. First, in episodes 2 and 3, we came to understand that certain talents could be misunderstood and create shame. But the clients were able to discover the real self and just operate with a lot more freedom and a lot more happiness. Why? Because they recognized that what they thought was broken in them was actually a clue, a thread that led them back to a gift that hadn't been identified or appreciated. And they saw for the first time that their talents were powerful and beautiful and purposed by God, and that they fit them really well, and that could be used for their good and for the good of others. And that helped them step more firmly into their authentic identity in Christ. Now that's critical to understand. And here's another step today for what we're going to talk about. It's called advocating for your talents, or at least that's what I call it. It's the idea that when you understand your own talents, you also start to see how they can be misunderstood by others and create problems for you and for them. Now, that can be just because people don't know what they're looking at, and they may not have the clarity or the training to be able to call out the best in us. And that's pretty normal. Only God really knows us perfectly well, and we're struggling sometimes to know ourselves. So today's story is about Jessica, a really super creative marketing director, very high in this talent theme called strategic, which is a thinking theme. Now, remember in Clifton Strengths that the talents are grouped by themes, and there are 34 of them, so this is one of them. Now, strategic is a gift that allows a person's mind to move very quickly, to see lots of creative options for solving problems and making plans strategically. In fact, they do it almost instantly. Many high strategic thinkers don't really know what they're doing. They just, boom, they're very decisive. Their minds are so fast moving, they may not even understand their own mental processes. That's how fast they are. Okay, so just imagine a really super rapid mind mapping process that's ignited in response to whatever goal or problem is right in front of the strategic thinker. So these really talented folks can be very decisive and fast moving. They can look at a situation and immediately see what are the best pathways for getting to their goals. But as they move forward into their plans, new data comes in, right? They're trying things, learning, they notice something new, someone shares information. And so as the situation changes, because they're moving through it and they're changing things, so does their strategy. That's really important to understand. Strategic is agile, intuitively course correcting repeatedly to move again and again into whatever the best course of action is. And that might mean doing something totally new. So in this situation, strategic thinkers can appear to others to be constantly changing their minds for no reason. I wonder if this is starting to resonate with some of you. But as I've described, what's really happening is that they're learning. And the new data is causing them to do that course correction that helps them to get to the goal even faster. So think of like an NFL player running down the field. He may have this play in his mind that has a set pattern. He knows who's going to be where and what's supposed to happen, and he's practiced it repeatedly. But in the heat of the moment, he is learning constantly by what's actually happening around him, and he's responding to the situation as it develops. He's adapting his strategy as he goes. So this very creative marketing director, Jessica, came to me frustrated because she would pitch a marketing plan to her boss and it would be accepted. But she needed something else, the freedom to make revisions along the way. The boss liked things to be really set and clear and just to be able to know what to expect at any given moment. And her boss would look at her new ideas being integrated and say, I thought we already had a plan. And Jessica would say, but now that I see the feedback that we're getting, or this new software we can use, or I saw somebody else using something really super successfully that aligns beautifully with our goals, and I'd like to adapt our plan so we can get where we're going faster. But her boss was confused because she never felt like they had a clear plan, and it strained their relationship. So Jessica needed to learn to advocate for her talents. So after a deep dive into her strategic talent, Jessica came up with a plan to request a weekly meeting with her boss. And it could be just a few minutes long. It didn't have to be, a big deal. But she would just, her boss agreed to this, show her what she was seeing as they were moving through their plan, what new data there was, and what she was noticing that might impact their plans for the better. And her boss would be the one to decide whether or not to make any plans, any changes to the existing plan. So this made them both feel a lot better because there was this feeling of mutual understanding and appreciation for each other's gifts and different roles, but also that freedom to be themselves. It gave the boss a better sense of control, and ultimately it gave this amazing creative person the confidence to represent her own talent well, as not being flaky or fickle, but to advocate for her strategic vision and to communicate it clearly. And then to create an agreement that honored their relationship. And that made them both a lot happier and allowed her to serve at a much higher level with a lot less stress. Okay, so learning to advocate for your talents, letting people know how your mind works, how your talents operate. It's good for you and it's good for others. I hope that's been helpful to you today. Feel free to reach out for any kind of questions or comments. I'd love to hear from you. And remember that you're wonderfully made by God, my friends. I'm praying for you. Please pray for me too. God bless you.